Okay, Ben, good day to you and welcome again to your next lesson in mathematics. And this time we're going to take up about percent of change. Okay, it says that it indicates how much quantity increases or decreases with respect to the original amount. Uh, uh, Percent of change, this is a change whether it increases or decreases, and how many percent is the change from the original amount. Okay, that's the percent of change. It has two kinds: percent of increase and percent of decrease. Now, percent of increase is the percent of change in which the new amount or the change is greater or higher than the original amount. While the percent of decrease is the change in which the new amount or the change is lower than the original amount. Okay? And the formula is percent of increase, for example, is equals to amount of increase over original amount. Okay? That's the formula. And from that, you can derive uh, additional formulas. Or decrease percent of decrease, okay, is equals to amount of decrease. It's the same, okay? Amount of decrease over original amount, okay? It's the same with the increase, okay? Now, I'm going to explain that using an example. Let's just have three examples for this lesson, and we're going to wrap it up. Okay, we have here an example, Ben, so that we can further explain what is percent of change. Let's read this. Jane makes $500 a week working part-time. Last week, she received $550. What was the percent of change of increase in Jane's salary? Okay. Now talking about percent of change, then here in our example, we are talking about percent of increase because out from Jane's salary, she received more than the amount that she received last week. Okay, so let's understand first the problem. Now, last week, Jane received $500. Okay, 500. Now, she works part time, but the next week, no, she received $550. Okay, so there was an increase from Jane's salary. Now, if we're gonna find the increase, that's 50. Okay, because from $500, it became $550. So the increase is 50. Now the question is, we want to find the percent of increase. How many percent did Jane's salary increase? That's what we want to find out. And it's called the percent of change or percent of increase. Now, the formula is percent of change percent of change is equals to the amount of increase. Okay, the amount of amount of increase. Because here in our example, there's an increase over the original amount. Okay, that is our formula. So the amount of increase, to find the percent of change or percent of increase, is how much is the increase of Jane's salary. That's 50, and that is our amount of change. That is 50 over what is the original amount of Jane's salary, and that's 700. Okay, so for our solution there, that will be 50 divided by 500, and that is how we're going to find the percent of change. And let's do that. Okay, so let's divide 50 over 500. Okay, so we are now dividing. So let's divide. 50 divided by 500 is 3. Why? Because 500 here is greater than 50. So for us to divide, then let's make it a decimal number. Okay, let's add 0 here. Let's add another digit, which is 0, so that we can divide them. But we need to put a decimal point because we are now dealing with decimal numbers. Okay, so we have now 500. Now 500 divided by 500 is 1. 1 here. Now 1 times 500 is 500. And let's subtract 500 minus 500, that's 0. So our answer is 0.1 or 0.1. Okay, so 0.1 here. Now we are looking for the percent of change. Therefore, we need to change our answer, which is 0.1, a decimal number, into a percent. How? By moving the decimal point 2 steps to the right. Okay, so let's move that. 1, 2. And there is a missing place value here. All you need to do is just add 0 on it. Okay, and drop the decimal point, change that into percent. So therefore, our answer here is 10%. What was the percent of increase in Jane's salary from 500 to 550? That's 10%. Okay, so that's how you get the percent of change. Let's have some more example. Okay, for our next example then, we have here the price of a kilo of rice decreased from 50 to 46. Find the percent of decrease. Okay, so there was a change of the price of rice. Okay, from 50 to 46. So we have to analyze that. How many did the price of rice increase? So we need to subtract. Okay, so 50 minus 46, this will become 4. 10, and so the answer is 4. Okay, so the price of rice decrease by 4. Okay, so we want to find the percent of change or the percent of decrease because the new amount is lower than compared to the original amount. Okay, so for our formula, that is percent of change is equals to amount of decrease over the original amount. That will be our formula. Okay, percent of change is equals to amount of decrease, okay, over original amount. Okay, that will be our percent of decrease. This will be our formula to get the percent of decrease. So if we're gonna substitute how much the amount of decrease from 50 to 46, that's 4. And the original amount of rise is 50. So our solution will be 4 over 50, or 4 divided by 50. Okay, so our solution would be 4 divided by 50. Okay, so let's divide. Now 4 divided by 50 is cannot be, because 50 is greater than 4. So let's add 0 in it. And before adding, let's put the decimal point here so that we are dealing with now with decimal numbers. So let's add 0 here. Okay. Now 40 divided by 50 is still cannot be, because 50 is still greater than 40. So let's add another 0. But before that, let's put 0 here, because we are going to add another 0 for our digit. Okay, so 0 here. So we have now 400. Okay, now 400 divided by 50, that's 8. Okay. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 5 is 40. We have now 400. And 400 minus 400 is 0. So we have 0.08 for our answer. But we are looking for the percent of decrease. So therefore, what we need to do is just change the decimal number into a percent. So just move the decimal point 2 steps to the right and drop the decimal point. Change that into percent. So we have 8%. So for our answer in our example, how many percent of decrease of the price of rice from 50 to 46? That's 8%. Okay, 8% of decrease for the price of rice. Let's have some more examples. Okay, Ben, for our next example. Now, this one is tricky because we are not looking for the percent change, because the change here is already given. Okay, we are looking now for the original, or the price. Okay, but we are looking now for the amount of decrease. Okay, so let's read this. The price of an LPG tank has decreased by 5% from its original price of 710 Philippine pesos, which here is Philippine pesos. By how much has the amount decreased? What is the new price of the LPG tank? Okay, so this one is tricky, but we can answer this using the formula. Okay, so let's write first the formula. Amount of decrease. Okay, so percent of change percent of change or percent of decrease. Okay, because we are talking about the decrease in price. Okay, so percent of decrease or change is equals to amount of decrease over the original amount. Okay, so we are looking for the amount of decrease. Okay, amount percent of decrease here. Okay, so given is the percent of decrease and the original amount. Okay, so how much is the percent of decrease? That's 5%, and the original amount is 710. So we're looking for the amount of decrease. Okay, how much was the decrease from the price of the LPG tank? Okay, so all we need to do is just substitute. Okay, so we have here the formula. Just substitute first the given. Okay, so first we have 5%, and that is the percent of decrease. So let's substitute 5% E. Okay, next, given is the original price or the original amount, which is 710, and the original amount is in the denominator. So let's put here 710. Okay, and we are looking for the amount of decrease. So let's put the N. Okay, we are looking for the amount of decrease. What is this N? So we have now the formula, which is 5% is equals to N over 700. Okay. So what are we going to do next? Because we have here an equal sign or an equality, just cross multiplying. So 5% here, okay, just cross multiply, and it becomes N here is equal to 5% times 710. Okay, that will be the solution. Okay, so we are now multiplying percent by a whole number. So how? Just change the percent into a decimal number. So 2 steps to the left, 1, 2. So we have here missing or blank this value. We have 0.05 times 710. Okay, so let's multiply that. 710 times 0.05. Okay, so 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 7 is 35. So we have here 3 and 5. Okay, then where do we put the decimal point? Let's count the digits after the decimal point, and that's 2. 1, 2. We have 2 digits. So from here, we have to move the decimal point 2 steps to the left. So 1, we have 35.5. 35.50, same. Okay, that will be the amount of decrease, okay, from its original price. So by how much has the amount decreased? That's 35.5. Next question, what is the new price of the LPG tank? That's that's the next thing we have to find out. So original price, that's 710. Okay, and it decreases by 35.5. 35.5. So for us to get the new price, let's just subtract 710, the original price, by 35.5, which is the amount of decrease, because there is a 5% discount. Okay? So let's subtract. So 710 minus 35.5, subtracting decimal numbers. First, you have to align all the decimal point and subtract. Now, nothing minus 5 up on 3. So for us to add that, you need to add 0 here, because there's no number. And you can now subtract. Now, 0 minus 5 cannot be, so 0 must borrow 1 from 0. And 0 cannot cannot give 1 to 0 because it has no value. So 0 must borrow 1 from 1 here. So 1 will become 0, 0 will become 10. Now 10 here will become 9 because 0 here we're going to borrow 1 from it. Okay? So we have 10. Now 10 minus 5, that's 5. Okay? Decimal point. So this is no longer 0 but 10 but 9 because we borrowed 1 from it. So 9 minus 5, that's 4. And now this one is 0 because we borrowed 1 from it. Now 0 minus 3 cannot be. So 0 must borrow 1 from 7. So 7 will become 6. 0 will become 10. Now we can now subtract 10 minus 3, that's 7. Okay? And bring down 6. So we have 674.50 or 5 for the new price of the LPG tank. Okay, so that would be our answer. Now 35.5 is the amount of decrease. 5% is the percent of decrease, while 710 is the original amount. Now 674.5, that's the new price of the LPG tank because it's discounted by 5%. Okay, that's how you get the percent of change, whether it is the percent of increase or percent of decrease. And out from the formula, we can derive another or further formulas. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for your time and see you next lesson.